Okay, good morning, everyone. This is the specially called meeting on December 13th. I call the meeting to order. All of our board members are present, and I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's 9-0. Thank you. Next up is the 23-24 academic calendar.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt the revised traditional calendar, which will start the 23-24 school year, August 9th, and conclude May 22nd.
Second.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to say I support this, obviously, and maybe my primary reason is academics. If you look at your higher education 2 or 4 year schools, they end their semesters at the Christmas break. It allows our teachers, instead of, and I first have experience with a high schooler, instead of our teachers having to spend time to review upon the return from Christmas break, this allows the students and the staff to move on to the next semester subjects and have all the testing and end of semester work completed and in the books by the time Christmas break. And that is solely my reason for supporting this motion. I understand it is a change for families. It will be a short summer this year, but it will be made up for the next summer. And I'm sure, I can only speak for Dr. Houlihan and say, I'm sure we will do our best to accommodate families who already have commitments that can't be changed.
Anybody else with any questions?
Madam Chair, may I ask Dr. Houlihan, what are your thoughts about the change of the calendar?
Well, I guess I can look at this from a parent perspective as well, understanding that with our kids in high school and exams is a big implication that this calendar will resolve. I think secondly, the alignment with our community college gives our kids at the high school level a better alignment with their academic programming. I would also say that in talking with principals and my teacher advisory council, this was widely, if not unanimously, supported. So from a stakeholder perspective, this is a calendar that I think would definitely help with our academic progress and our continuous improvement, but is also widely accepted and I think widely favored by our employees, that at least those that are on my advisory council that I've spoken to, as well as our students.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, I have a question for you. We've gotten some emails about athletics. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, good morning. I think we had some conversation yesterday about some questions you had. This calendar will not affect athletics. The starts of the fall sports will still begin with the schedules that set out by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. We're not going to be able to practice any sports until the actual first day of practice is August 1st. That's not going to change whether we go with this calendar or another calendar.
And the same with bands, correct?
So I'm not as familiar with band, but yes, that's my understanding. Bands would be in the same situation.
You know, that's interesting because I always found it unusual that we usually have first 2 football games under our belt before school even started. Now this remedies that.
Yes, sir. It will. We'll have those games will be played under this calendar. They'll be played when school's in session.
Gotcha.
Dr. Harris, has any consideration been given to starting it on the 14th versus the 9th, kind of easing us in, or even like at some point the week of the 14th, we didn't want to start back on a full week. it looks like we still might have time in December in order to make that calendar work with, with the philosophy of having the semester end before the Christmas break. So I'm curious, with it being a full 2.5 weeks that we're pulling it forward, has any consideration been given to perhaps just being 2 weeks or a week and a half sooner, starting on either the 14th or the 16th?
Yes, sir. We have considered a lot of different options. I looked at a lot of calendars across the state, and most of them start on the 9th with this type of early start. We even considered the 31st of July. So there were a lot of things that we considered with regards to the calendar. This was the one that sort of met some of the requirements, other requirements that the state has that we need to meet with regards to staff days and hours.
And Madam Chair, from what I can see from the emails that I've received, I don't know how many others have received, the majority of the parents like this calendar. There is some that spoke about what Ms. Marielle just talked about, the 14th, and there are some that are in disagreement, but the preponderance is in favor of this change. And with what Dr. Houlihan said concerning the administrators and the teachers and whatnot, I think that a lot of the concerns from those that may not be for it, as time moves forward, will be alleviated. So that's why I support the motion.
Anyone have any questions? Sandra?
Yeah, I do just go back to, I have concern around parents that have already made summer vacation plans. And I'd really like to understand, like, we just asked Dr. Houlihan, or we kind of implied that there will be some leniency around that. But I mean, we're talking 2.5 weeks, and the likelihood that people are going to be out for, summer activities, this is an unplanned change where many people have put deposits down or paid in full for cruises and things like that, where they weren't expecting their children to have to be in session, just based on the fact that we've historically started with the traditional year. So I'm curious, what will the policy be for students that may miss a week as we start the school year?
So I'll comment on that. I talked to Dr. Tyson about that question yesterday. And if this board approves this calendar, we will address that question with our principals at our January principals meeting. As it stands right now, the board has an attendance policy. There's also attendance law. And so with the board's policy, we do expect children to come to school. However, understanding the change of that this will happen, as we have done in the past, we will work with families on an individual basis to make sure that work is caught up, that absences are excused when possible, and that we do all that we can from a teacher and a principal perspective to accommodate any family that has that issue. We have the same issue with our staff, and right now there's no way that we can have as much flexibility with our staff. So I think we have to have the expectation that when school starts, we need you to be there. If there are issues out of our control or out of the family's control, we will work with them on an individual case-by-case basis for sure. And we have a history of doing that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think.
Wait, I think Sandra was next.
I
Sorry.
apologize.
Sorry.
No, ma'am, no problem at all. I didn't see it.
Sandra, sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. I was just, what I was going to say was similar. I received several emails of a lot of parents who are in favor, and I've also received some of parents that are in favor but do not like the start so early. And that was something that I think I spoke with Kathy yesterday. The problem is if we do start a week later, then we push it further into the end of the semester into December, which a lot of people are not, it wouldn't work because of the holidays and everything. But I mean, I am in favor of this as well. I know it's going to be a difficult transition this first time around, but the first time around, it's something we're just going to have to adjust to. As a parent, I get it. So I think it's just the first time around, we're just gonna have to adjust to it. And then as the year goes on and the following year, we'll just it'll be a smoother transition. This first time around, I mean, one way or another, it's got to happen sometime. So it might as well, I mean, rip the Band-Aid off now. If that's the right word.
Okay, Reverend Kirkpatrick.
What Sandra said about the emails about the start date as well as Joe, that's been a concern. I have asked quite a few families in District 1 and they're in favor of it as well. But one question that was also sent through email is about the law component. And Dr. Houlihan, you just mentioned that we do have a policy in place, an attendance policy and law. And so I think we need to really, because if there is a component from the state that we're supposed to abide by, and then we have our local, it may cause some form of issues with that because we're saying we have our state. I am in favor of the change. I really am. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. I wish it was done when I was in school. I just don't want us, because I know other counties are doing it. But it's just something about Union County that sometimes we get targeted because of some of the things that we have done and we do. And I just don't want anything to affect us or affect our students going forth because of Union County, us not obeying what we're supposed to do. That's my only concern. That's my only concern.
Any other comments? I have a question, Dr. Houlihan. If we were to approve this calendar today, will we push it out to the parents right away, or what's the plan for communicating to our families?
Yeah, so I talked to Ms. Dahlberg about that. If the board approves the calendar today, we will post the calendar to our website, and we will communicate via email and all of our district channels the updated calendar. So that will happen today.
Okay. So
Good,
do we have,
good.
sorry, anybody else have any questions? No? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And any noes? 9-0. Okay, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.